Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Semper Fortis Esports investor presentation. Throughout this presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged and can be submitted at any time using the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Please just simply type in your question and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company review all questions submitted today and publish responses where it is appropriate to do so. These will be available via your Investor Meet Company dashboard, and we will notify you when they are ready for your review. Before we begin, we would just like to submit the following poll, and if you could give that your attention, that will free up your screen as well. And I'd also like to remind you that this presentation is being recorded.
In the 70s, when I started Atari in the video game industry, we had no idea where it would ultimately end up. But now I can say that esports has become a major factor. More people watching it, more people having fun. Esports is fun, fascinating, and inclusive. We're coming to London. Semper Fortis Esports is coming to you.
I'd now like to hand over to Kevin Sultani, CEO from Semper Fortis Esports. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Mark. Thank you so much for the introduction. Appreciate it. Hello to everybody who's joined us today. Really appreciate your time and energy. We're going to go quickly over the deck, which I would just quickly go over as it pertains to the company, and then we'll get into the question and answers afterwards. Again, thank you for your time and energy today, for being with us, and we hope to answer any remaining questions, but here we go. Semper Fortis was birthed in early 2020 from a founding team that came together from really all corners of the world for the purposes of growing an esports company in a very non-pure play esports way. Most esports teams tend to focus on just teams. And what you'll see out of Semper Fortis is that we've added a couple different pieces onto that to really add value to the industry of esports ecosystem, and also to do supporting roles and infrastructures such as technology and advisory B2B services. Semper Fortis in Latin means always strong. That's a motto to what we like to keep to. And our mission and vision really focuses on the esports ecosystem as a whole within the UK and around the world. And our mission is to build gaming experiences through teams, technologies, and immersive content. We'll go over the technology bit a bit more later. But the teams involved, like I said, most people in esports and most companies in esports tend to take a role that is a pure play esports infrastructure where you just build teams to compete. We've taken a different approach to try to add on technology pieces, build technology pieces with our co-founding team, which you will get into in a moment. And for the vision that really builds out a massive ecosystem. Esports is a young industry, is a young in its amateur phase. However, it is the fastest growing entertainment category in the world. And most of the monies coming in from traditional sports and other traditional entertainments are coming into esports through revenues of advertisement, marketing, and also the investment into the infrastructures of the technology. Quickly, just running through our team, our chairman, Mr. Keith Harris, comes from a very corporate capital markets background where he's the chairman of multiple listed companies in the NASDAQ here in the UK and around the world. Coming from a very traditional sports background, he's been the chairman of multiple one English Premier League team in Everton and the English Football League. He's done a massive work in his life with the traditional assets, and we're looking to hone that talent to really bridge the gap from what we call analog to digital. If traditional sports is analog, then esports is the new digital world and realm that we hope to really break down the barriers and bring those traditional sports assets, as you've seen coming into esports, but to really hone that talent as well for the purposes of infrastructures, career engagement. We want to add jobs within the esports market within the UK, and no better person to bridge that gap than Mr. Keith Harris. Our founding board member and non-exec director, Mr. Nolan Bushnell, is the most Google worthy of us all, I believe. He is the founder, creator of Atari, the original Atari, founded in 1972, and the original Pong games. He went on to invest in many tech products and also build one of the largest physical entertainment locations here in America and around the world, called Chuck E. Cheese. Chuck E. Cheese was exactly an early version of what Semper Fortis would like to do, bridging the analog and the digital, essentially bringing the arcade into a digital setting and essentially tokenizing that asset through their Chuck E. Cheese token. It became a massively successful billion-dollar company. And Nolan went on to build many different companies within tech, investing and working on the first GPS system in the early days of GPS, and many others within esports as well. He's built a few different tech products that we hope to hone within our company, Semper Fortis Esports, which essentially will make the world a smaller place. The tech that is most important right now in the esports is to make this world a smaller place. How can we get children in China and Asia playing with children and adults in UK and also out in America? This technology does not exist yet. And essentially making the world a smaller place and connecting us all is a massive opportunity within gaming and esports. And we hope to do that through Nolan. Myself, I come from a corporate background early on, and now in the esports over the last 5 years. We really bring in the talent management. We've managed some of the largest players in the world, professional players. Just in the last 2 years, we've been able to close over $7 million in esports contracts, some of the largest contracts in the industry we've been a part of. We owned a team which was a part of the largest category of teams, Tier 1 sports and League of Legends. And we sold and divested into that to essentially now bring forward Semper Fortis Esports. My co-founder and COO, Jossam, also comes from a very traditional media background, advertisement background, and as well joined me in esports 5 years ago, where we've been able to build those products and sell those products, as well as secure the contracts needed to grow not only our agency, but really add value within esports as well. Mr. Max Dealey comes from a financial background where he's done great things in real estate and corporate finance within the country. And in the UK, and really trying to keep us on point for our budget, which is very important to us, which we'll get into a little bit later, of how we want to build infrastructures within tech that do require a budget, obviously, and how to manage that budget properly in esports is something very important, where high burn rates are common, and mismanagement of dollars within teams, which is why we'd like to say during this call and many others that we are not just a pure play esports team, but rather much more closer to a tech background and corporate background advisory for esports and the ecosystem. I'm going to quickly run through just the market. Obviously, much of this is Google worthy and founded online, but the market of esports is growing very rapidly. As you can see, in 2022, it looks to almost 1.5 times this. This is a 2021 stat, but the predictions coming in for 2022, it does look like it will not double this, but just near doubling this, which was a very early indicator of where the markets are headed. We did not expect, as in we, the ecosystem of esports, did not expect to double so quickly, but it does look like it will be close to doubling this exact number in 2022. And what does the UK and esports look like? And why did we choose the UK as Semper Fortis Esports? Some numbers here that I won't regurgitate, but you can take a look at. But the one that I look at specifically is that last one, 1,200 jobs supported within the sector in 2019. And we're looking for the statistic to come much more to triple that number in 2020 and maybe even double that number in 2022. And it's really about, job creation, bringing the jobs to the market. And as we bring more jobs, that means more infrastructures are being built. And as more infrastructures are being built, that first number in the previous slide will tend to trend upwards. And as those tend to trend upwards, company like ours will take advantage of the markets and be able to add value from our side as well, which I mentioned are not just pure play esports, but you'll see in a few slides a couple other things that we do. This is a global perspective. Again, some numbers I'll let you look over, and I'll just choose one right here, and that's in the third column. Almost 100 million unique viewers watched the 2019 League of Legends Championship. It was the last in-person championship, albeit in 2020 they did have it in China, and there was a stadium filled of people, but nothing like 2019 as far as physical. But the digital reach of last year's League of Legends finals even beat this number. But because it hasn't been solidified through the rights holders, this is the statistic from 2019. As you can see, it was matching or beating the Super Bowl. So this is the third largest watched event in sports, right? You have the Champions League, which is notorious for being the largest. And then you have the Super Bowl, and then you have the League of Legends finals. This is a fact. It's growing, and it has been in massive incline for the last 10 years since Riot Games, which is a publisher within esports, created the game of League of Legends. And as you can see in 2019, right before the pandemic hit, we had a massive uptick in viewers at 100 million live viewers. This is a live viewing category. And that's not just like how pay-per-view works, there's multiple heads watching the same television, and similar goes with other sports, but no more than in esports, because you have internet cafes and you have notoriously younger generation population getting together behind one screen, screaming together for the fanship of their team or whoever's in the finals. So that number is quite exciting, and it is growing to be the third largest, most viewed sport. Quick numbers on the impact of gaming, because it was a massive impact to gaming and esports for 2020. Everybody was stuck at home. Everybody didn't have much to do in the physical world. So most of the rest of the younger generation that was watching the EPL or the NBA had transitioned over to gaming. And gaming assets were starting to be built. APIs were starting to be integrated. And now Twitch, which is the largest streaming service in the world, had over 400 million hours each month watched. And some games, that's all games combined, but some games actually had tipping 100 million viewed hours. These numbers are massively incredible, and it cannot be compared to even sports in America or the UK, such as the EPL or the NBA. The numbers are just blowing through the roof, and because of COVID, it's been expedited. What we say in the industry, we were working on these numbers for 5 more years. But what had happened is, because of COVID and all the younger generation and their parents were stuck at home, naturally, everybody went digital. Not just the conferencing apps, not just the typical Zoom conferences, which we all know about, but esports and gaming as a part of taking up the time of the youth really came to the forefront. And as you can see, the numbers, these are just numbers through the time of COVID. Moving along to what our business is and who is Semper Fortis Esports. As you can see right there at the top, it is a top pillar of ours, and that's technology, developing and innovating gaming technologies that support infrastructures within the industry. Tokenized assets have become a big thing within the industry. Blockchain security, anti-hacking, anti-cheating. No more do we have the problem, or should have the problem in the future, of cheating within games. We've heard the multiple problems, even in traditional sports, where referees and teams have been able to fix matches and things like that. These things, I can't say don't happen in esports, but are becoming few and far between because of the technologies being added. There's so many APIs being added on the technology side that will essentially get in front of the hackers, the cheaters, the fraudsters. And through innovating tokenized gaming assets, you're giving the power back to the fan. That's already been happening for the last 10 years quietly in games like Fortnite, where $2.5 billion over the last 2 years was spent in microtransactions for their native token called V-Bucks. And V-Bucks is a token that is used in-game and essentially taking the fiat currency, turning it into the token, and essentially allowing the players to buy skins, avatars, upgrade their swords or whatever, and essentially play the in-game with the token. And I think this is a massive opportunity because they're just the tip of the iceberg. And so we're really honing in on our technology pieces, which one of them we're building with Nolan, specifically with and for, not for Nolan, but with what he has done in the past, and using Nolan as a centerpiece for that because of his 55 years experience in gaming, being the godfather of gaming, and really, it doesn't come better than Nolan for us and for the industry, because he's bridging the gap, essentially starting the video game industry in 1970. And as he says in the second part of his bookshelf, in the book end, he would like to create technologies and some of the best technologies that support esports teams, esports infrastructures, and game development and publishers as well. This is a fact that over 2,000 companies in the UK are game development companies, but you don't tend to hear this. You don't tend to see many of those companies, and most of them have massive brain drain that tend to go south to Europe or west to America. So another mission of ours is to hone that technology talent within the island and within the UK, and essentially create more jobs and infrastructures for the UK first, and then expanding outwards after. As you can see through the other pillars, virtual experiences is another product of the COVID times and the pandemic of being stuck at home. We all, in every business, and no more than esports, need to hone the opportunities within virtual experiences. We don't know when the physical world will come back in full. We hope that it will be on May 17th when the doors open, but I don't see, and we don't foresee, a full integration back to physical anytime soon. You've seen what Zoom has done. You've seen now, and if you just search Twitch in gaming, the numbers that are astronomical. We don't see physical world elements hurting esports. In fact, helping esports. It's been about a year and a half since we've had physical LAN tournaments, and LAN tournaments are exactly that. They're physical play competitions where Team X and Team Y face off and fight each other on stage and in front of an audience. And this was a very exciting piece for the industry, but that got taken away from us, right? So everybody went digital. Everybody started to build and use the infrastructures that were existing. And so virtual experiences is a massive vertical within gaming and esports, because we do foresee more people staying at home. The numbers have shown that. And then the hours watched from these viewers and from these streamers, and with the influx of influencers, gaming influencers specifically, that have come into the market, there really is an opportunity to take advantage of that sector as well. Gaming is quite obvious. We're looking to connect the talent and brands with the technologies for the global game environment. Game development is one thing, game publishing is another, and in-game advertisement and marketing is completely separate. So there's so many verticals to take advantage of that infrastructures have not been built for. Going back to our first piece of technology, it will always come down to who can innovate the best tech and be able to bring that to market. We've been building some in the backgrounds, and we're very excited to continue to work on those as we get forth to be able to announce those to the market. And the accelerator part is not a traditional accelerator or incubator. We just see that as an expedition of an expedited process for the enterprises looking to break into esports and gaming. We do see ourselves as the more corporate esports company, the more technologically savvy esports company, comparing ourselves with our counterparts on the island and around the world. We do see that we are a bit more of the professional, technologically savvy team, as you can see through our board, that we have the advantages to hold the hands of the corporates, the traditional corporates, the Coca-Colas, the IBMs, that want to enter esports, but maybe just don't know how to, and they're looking for a partner to join with to do that. So that's where we see our advantage of our B2B services, advisory services, really taking advantage of a blank slate market, not only within the UK, but the young industry of esports. If we do look at the UK for a second and to bring all these pillars together, there is a massive lack of innovation, and it is a blank slate to add value within, where we can see our outcomes, whether through its user acquisition or just the opportunities to add to infrastructure. All four of these of these points come together and really add value for the UK first, and then the world second. We are a UK-based company. Our passion is to help the ecosystem and grow the ecosystem within the United Kingdom and all of the islands around us. And we really are honored to be a part of the Aquis team and to join to bring this to market in the UK. Just going forward a little bit, it branches out some of the things regarding the games and teams opportunities. As you can see, the traditional assets, just like in traditional sports, work the same, if not better, in esports. It is a young industry, and teams have high burn rates. However, it is being subsidized through the sponsors coming in, merchandising deals, brand collaborations, ambassadorships from larger traditional sports players, music talent, Hollywood stars, some of the largest sports figures, Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, all the way to Hollywood figures and billionaire investors such as Mark Cuban, and the couple ownerships of EPL teams, Kroenke, have also got into esports at a very high level. At the ground level community, we also see professional athletes joining in as ambassadors. What we have yet to see is a collaboration of how it can all be put together on the tech side and infrastructure, so that the teams and or companies coming in can be able to get that support from the corporate side. And that's what we hope to do, is bridge the gap for the corporations within esports as well, adding in those opportunities for the ecosystem of esports. Our first product that we've been able to secure and really work on is a team. So we like to say we evaluate all businesses the same, and we make good business decisions, not just esports teams decisions, but all decisions. We are building our own tech, 2 pieces of tech that we hope to come to market with shortly after the summertime as we're getting started. But our first product that is a live product is a Rocket League team, which is a tier 2 esports, and they are the top blokes. The top blokes, we've been able to formalize our work with the team in late last year. And since that time, they have been a notoriously outperforming team. You can check us out and check our broadcast out as well. This little standings right here is a bit outdated, although it is of April, but we did go through another competition where we've now officially secured our World Championships spot. Psyonix, the publisher of the game Rocket League, has scaled because of COVID. There is no LAN tournaments this year, so the championships, the World Championships, will be scaled to a more localized product for EU and America, and then Asia and that side taking their championship as well. But we have secured officially as the 3rd ranked team in EU and the 6th ranked team, give or take. It always changes with the standings, but in the world. So we are ranked 6th in the world, 3rd in EU, and we are solidified as a very strong team. It is our first product. It is a very good esports team, and it's outperforming. So definitely check our Twitch and our Twitters out, and you can see that our broadcast is very important to us. Our broadcast is our television network where our brands, our teams, our players, and anybody that wants to get involved with the product can join us and see firsthand, live, in real time, how it all comes together and works out. Some of the technology pieces that we look to add into, without saying too much with respect to the process, is that third one. I like it as the progressive innovations, where we are working with some blockchain and machine learning products to be able to get in front of anti-hacking, anti-cheating, as I've alluded to, which is a massive problem in some of the games. Not all, but some games do have still a lot of cheating that are able to work with hacks. And so working on these products together with our partners around the world, we look to maybe add value in those to get in front of the future cheaters and hackers, and as well as the tokenized platforms that I do feel are the future of esports. I gave the example of the Fortnite V-Bucks, but it can work differently in tokenizing the aspects within esports, such as what we've seen gone on in the NFT markets of art. Much, much different than the NFT markets of the gaming assets, because the gaming assets have notoriously high volume and transaction rates, whereas art and some of the things going on are very much lower in the volume and transaction rate. Just to give a quick example of what I mean by that is in-game assets, such as avatars, skins, those swords, or a specific gun or a shirt that a player or athlete, an esports athlete, wants to add into their repertoire. It is an asset, and they are being traded, and they do have increasing values. And these increasing values are going to take a life of their own as more people come on to esports, as more people come into gaming and start to use these assets. It's going to be an exciting time to see how we can really see the shift in the secondary markets as these avatars and these t-shirts and these add-ons in-game become more valuable because streamers, influencers, gamers are using them in their own streams, the regular retail markets will be very excited to obtain those, very similarly to the new jersey drop of a Manchester United or Liverpool, very similar to the new shoe that comes out from Nike, from a Michael Jordan or Air Jordans. There's no different than in esports. It's just a different verbiage and a different digital version of that I believe has not been tapped into at its full potential, but we're very young in the industry. So I think that's the most exciting, lucrative part of the industry, is the tech pieces that are going to be added in-game. And I did allude to it earlier, in-game advertisement is a fantastic opportunity that very little has been done. Great things have been done, but I think there's so much more innovation that can be done. And just to round it out with our B2B advisory consultancy services, we do want to be the corporate level position of the UK for the UK to help the brands get involved with gaming and esports. Not just getting a jersey sponsor for, you know, the typical jersey positions, but also to create an impact. So a quick example, what you see gone on in America is that financial institutions are getting involved. Banks are getting involved. Even crypto companies such as Coinbase that just listed on the markets are getting involved, not just as jersey sponsors, but to teach children and younger generations and to get in their minds for financial literacy. What more beautiful scenario can we have than a Cash App, which is a big financial services company here in America, sponsoring one of the largest teams in America and essentially building out their whole compound, building out their whole esports physical infrastructure. And so now we have a bunch of young, popular fans that are invested in this popular team, which are the 100 Thieves. If you guys want to look, it's called the Cash App Compound. My point in saying this example is that we're creating a future of very innovative, financially literate children that are going to be young adults that will be adults. My generation didn't get this, and we were a product of the financial crisis, and yet no tool was given to us other than Facebook and Uber. This generation is being given, and it's clearly being sponsored within esports. Financial institutional companies, insurance companies are getting involved, not just as jersey sponsors, but physical sponsorships to teach kids financial literacy, get them excited about investing, whether it's $1 or $1 million of their time and money. And fractional ownership of shares, which is a new thing over the last decade, is being taught to these younger generations. What better place to do that within esports? And that's my whole story about the B2B consultancy services, because we need to bring that to the UK and get these companies and corporations, the HSBCs, the Halifaxes, excited about wanting to get the future generation excited about their product. So that's where we're really trying to take advantage within the market. These are a bit of our listing items, which is live now, so it's a bit irrelevant. I will stop it here for the presentation, and I see some questions coming in. Thank you for your time on the presentation side, and I'll get to the questions now.
That's brilliant. Kevin, thank you very much indeed. But before you do that, ladies and gentlemen, please do continue to submit your questions using the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Just while Kevin takes a few moments to review the questions that have been submitted, I'd like to remind you that a recording of this presentation, along with a copy of the slides and the published Q&A, will be accessible via your Investor Meet Company dashboard, and we will send you an email to notify you when they're ready for your review. I'd also like to remind you that your feedback is important to the company, and immediately after this presentation has ended, you'll be redirected for the opportunity to provide feedback in order that the management team can better understand, I guess, shareholders' views and expectations at this very early stage. Kevin, investors did have the ability to pre-submit questions. We've got 4 just to run through, I guess, before we jump into the live Q&A. So perhaps if I just addressed you with the first one, which is, why did the company not list on the main market or AIM, which would be more accessible for retail investors rather than Aquis?
Yeah, great question. The AIM markets tend, in comparison to the Aquis markets, if we want to compare a little one-to-one, is that we see ourselves more like the Aquis markets because it's more built like a tech company, not so much as a startup. They're a massive exchange, 6th or 7th largest in Europe, but it spoke our language per se. It spoke the esports language of being able to innovate, being very open with our proper, plan in place, which is very similar to what Aquis is trying to innovate with their markets at a larger scale. It's not to say that the main markets or the AIM markets are not for us or weren't our place or home, but it does speak to the language of being able to operate our own culture and being able to be innovative in the tech side. And it kind of felt like a good home and place because of the support and the relevance of where it's headed and what we want to do within esports as well, and how we see ourselves headed. So I thought it was a fantastic home for us. We really appreciate everybody at Aquis and their innovative, forward-thinking mentality, just like how we like to think of ourselves.
It's very kind. Thank you very much indeed, Kevin. The second question we received reads as follows. Critics have said the funds raised at IPO is insufficient to execute the business plan. What is your response to this? And will ad hoc fundraisings be needed in the coming months to fund any joint ventures or new opportunities?
Yeah, so the second part of that question, will more funds be needed? At this point, we are secured for about 18 months very comfortably. We went to 24 months if need be, if we don't, per se want to, if we want to build more products that are not in the pipeline. But no, we are cash strapped. We are good to go with the current roadmap that we would like to achieve. And that's exactly right. Our current roadmap, the blokes as our first product and the tech pieces as our second and third products are good, ready to go. They've been budgeted and planned for. As I mentioned, our financial team and Max has done a great job budgeting our first calendar year down to the day, and we are ready to go and okay for all of the products that we would like to bring to market. And we hope to make money from those products to be better support our moving forward within the second calendar year. But as of right now, and for the next 18 to 24 months, we have planned and are ready. And for the next calendar year, we have almost every day planned out to a T, and we're ready to go as far as our cash reserves.
That's great. Thank you very much indeed. Kevin, if it's all right, I'm going to add a question that's come in the live event as well as the one that was pre-submitted, I guess, around listing in the US, just to be efficient with time. The first one reads, will the company be pursuing an OTC listing for US investors to be able to buy shares? And the question from John N, thank you, John, reads, will you be listing in the US and on the London Stock Exchange? We've just discussed that. And where do you see the company and the market cap in 3 to 5 years' time? So throwing a few at you at the same time.
Yeah, no, excellent question. Thank you, John M, for that. We are not ruling out any opportunities, but for the first 6 to 9 months, we are hyper focused on our mission, on our vision, which is UK first, all things UK. Prove to ourselves and to the market that we are here and we are here to stay. And so for the short-term thinking is UK first, UK only. We are not ruling out any opportunities for the future. As far as listing in America, like I said, we will have to prove to ourselves in the markets what we are able to do here and what we can do, which we will do here in the UK. And once we get going, and I'm sure more funding will come in the years to come, and we will need that to be able to develop more products and grow. And that's our main mission, is to grow. Where we see the company in 3 to 5 years is to get to our first goal, 100 million market cap, which we see as easily achievable. Nothing comes easy, but I do see in the 3 to 5 year span that being achievable, because we are adding the products that hope to make the revenues and add the value within, again, the UK first, and then moving out east and south second. So we do see our valuation raising because we are going to announce those products and those products will be able to make money and add value to the ecosystem of esports, which is massively growing. But for now, hyper focused on our mission within the UK and getting these products to market.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much indeed. And the final pre-submitted question reads as follows. How competitive is the market, and really how do you differentiate yourself in that space?
Yeah, again, another great question. We're not a one-trick pony, as they say, and we are not a pure play esports company. Our mission is not just to build another 5 esports teams. Now, that may happen. We may build and invest in another 5 esports teams. As you notice, the Top Blokes was branded differently, right? They were a team performing very well and the branding which we liked. So we were not just about to step in and change it and start from zero as a Semper Fortis team, because us as a 30,000 foot level view of the company, of the ecosystem within esports, we'd like to see ourselves as a parent company, an investment holding firm, sort of say, that makes correct and right, proper business decisions. That the Top Blokes was one of them. We might have another team in the future that we'd like to invest in, but for now, it's the Top Blokes and the technology pieces, which will have their own brands as well. We'd like to see each one of those brands as future $100 million companies. If our tech piece, which is brand X, is able to stand alone on itself and make revenues, what better way as a parent company to make those decisions in the backgrounds, support them financially, administratively, operationally, and all the buzzwords, and make the brand and that product the best product it could be. Hire the right people for each product to drive that forward, to make the revenues for that product, and essentially have it be a very good, proper standalone product, and each one of them performing highly. And our first one is the Top Blokes, which you can see was not rebranded into Semper Fortis for obvious reasons.
Kevin, thank you very much indeed. Well, that takes care of the pre-submitted questions, so thank you so much for that. If I could ask you just to look at that Q&A tab on the right-hand corner screen, if I could ask you to read out the question, who it's from, and where appropriate to give a response, and then I'll pick up from you at the end.
Yeah, I'll just go from the top, and we'll see how many we can hit. Ryan N., thank you so much. The credibility of the board is very impressive. How much convincing did it take them to be on board with Semper, and much day-to-day involvement do they have? A great question. It's a question we've been asked, and Nolan has been able to be the driving force to this question, because as opposed to our counterparts that bring on big name advisors or corporate partners or board members, Nolan is not being paid by the company. In fact, he's an equity shareholder within the company from day one. Nolan and I met about 2 years ago, and I talked to him about what we wanted to do. And Nolan's loved the fact that it was UK based, which is kind of answering some of the other ones that have been asked, why UK, why listing here? And Nolan has done great things in tech, as well as here in the UK. He's had a great experience. Coupled with the blank slate of what esports is in the UK, we see a lot of value being added with a partner like Nolan, where again, he's not coming from esports as so much as gaming. So what is esports, right? It's just competitive gaming at a high level. Many of the people in the industry are using the word less and less, and it's just looking like an ecosystem that is surrounded by game developers, publishers that are adding value. And once it becomes competitive, it becomes an e-sport. So Nolan is very involved on the tech side and what we're trying to build out and innovate. Keith Harris, our chairman, comes from a traditional sports background. And when we met and got introduced, when I pitched esports, it obviously clicked for him that this was the transference of what we kind of say as a example of analog to digital. The old money versus the new money in the sense of where the money is headed. And if it is going the way of digital, and if it is kind of disrupting sports, this is the biggest disruptor to traditional sports. You don't have to look too much further than what happened in the pandemic again. And with Mr. Keith at the helm of our board, we are making very wise, conscious decisions to be able to replicate the model of what the 1970s EPL to what the 2021 EPL or NBA in America looked like. They came from non-franchise models to franchise models, media rights, and all the bit. This is the most perfect gentleman, I think, within the country, due to his experience, to be able to help hold our hand in the company of what that looked like then, what it looked like, what it looks like now, and what it looked like in the future. And we all know the story of where sports is headed in the future. Viewership is down massively for something like the NBA. In-game attendance is non-existent, slowly coming back. And again, viewership online, not just viewership on the television networks, which esports has not even tapped into. We have very few esports events getting on the television on BBC. It has been there, and on Reuters or like Al Jazeera and some of the bigger networks around the world. But once we tap into that as esports, and they are coming, then it's on to the moon. We have solved a problem, and where we're really taking advantage of Keith and his knowledge is what it looked like when the media rights came in. What did the monies look like? How is it being spent? And esports, as it's digital on a very digital platform, the monies are coming in digitally. Now, as they come in on the television and media rights side, what's it going to look like for even teams like ours? And how can we share in that profitability of those media and all of the advertisers coming in? Advertisement is a large thing where our board member, Jossam, has had massive experience selling and putting together these packages for the media. And I think that once we look at the whole team combined and our board, it's a very credible board. Thank you, Ryan. But as well, it's a very proven board. We've done all individually massive action and massive potential revenue generation for each one of our respective businesses. So that's coming together to bring the old analog version to the digital and to really make esports as close as we can to the model of sports in the fact of revenue generation and growth. Just to quickly keep it going, Chris K, what are your main targets, ambitions over the coming months and years? What will be the largest revenue drivers? What are what differentiates you from your competition? Thanks, Chris. Our main targets and ambitions for the next coming months, as I mentioned, is to get hyper focused on our few products that are coming to market that we haven't announced yet, and the one that is live on the market. My goal is for the Top Blokes, is to be the best broadcast, which is very important to us because that's where their users come from. That's where the community is watching. And that's where the corporates are not there yet, but are going to come. So if we can have as big as our network of, the Manchester United after show or the Liverpool pre-show, where they have their own standalone products, maybe on these Sky Sports networks and online, this is a massive opportunity for us to get in front of the brands, as well as to give back to the users, which are the fans, and for them to touch and feel the product. So my goal, and we were voted number 2 on the rankings this year, and that was without really the massive energy that we're putting forth right now. So my goal with the Blokes is to always make the team better, give them what they want and need, to be a successful company. Competing team. We are competing in the World Championships. We are 3rd in Europe. We're the only team in Europe that's beaten every other team. No other team has beaten every other team. So we have the potential to win the whole thing, and we are giving the products, what it needs to become a better product. Just a quick case of that is we've hired one of the top mental and health coaching companies within the UK and esports. It's actually not just based in the UK, it's in Europe, but we're really honing the talent for mental preparation, visualization, and all things nutrition and health. We have Conor McGregor's nutritionist team, not to name drop, but that is a very important piece for us because we do want to bridge the gap from traditional to digital. And what better way to utilize the best people doing it there? And for one-to-one doing it also, they're doing it for some massive teams within esports. So if we can prove this model of becoming more, better, faster, stronger, then we can win more championships, bring on bigger brands, and do great things. So really our ambitions and goals for the next couple months is to get hyper-focused on the product that we have, make it a better product, and add those 2 other products that we've been working on in the backgrounds shortly near the summer or after the summer as we start to build out the tech. And I lost the second part of the question, but I think it said, well, what differentiates you from your competition? I would say, again, not to beat the dead horse, is that we are not a pure play esports team. We are not a pure play esports company, as in we don't just focus on the Top Blokes. It is a big piece of our company right now. We are hyper focused on them, but also multi-operational, being able to add the infrastructures. And that's where the Nolan tech genius comes in, and being able to build good products to essentially make the world a smaller place. I did allude to the fact that a child in China cannot play with a child in the UK, cannot play with a child in America at the same time right now. If we can just solve this little problem, which we're looking to do, and many others that are required for APIs within the tech side, I think we'll be doing good and right by the industry, and we'll be able to revenue generate very quickly, which I think was the middle question of how do you foresee revenue generations If we were just a pure play esports teams, I don't have to tell you with a simple Google search that you can find that pure play esports teams with 7 or 8 teams have massive burn rates and very difficulty to subsidize those burn rates with sponsorships. We have one team right now. We do look to add other teams, but if they are good business decisions. This team was outperforming and, like I said, qualified for the World Championships. We will be able to secure all of this subsidizing of those costs with our sponsors that we are also working with in the background. So hope I answered all 3 of those back to back. Where did it go? Where's the James N? Where's the next big catalyst for the business? Yeah, tech. I don't want to keep just regurgitating that, but it is where our focus is. Once we make, like even the broadcast, right? The broadcast for the blokes is a piece of tech because it's not a piece of innovative tech, but it's using technology. Twitch.tv or twitch.com, if I'm not mistaken, the URL, just Twitch. You can just search Twitch. You can find our broadcast and many others. And it's the most viewed entertainment channel in the world. I'm comparing it to ESPN. I'm comparing it to BBC Sports. I'm comparing it to Al Jazeera. It's literally the largest platform for live entertainment in the world right now, and it's a pure gaming platform. But what happens in that gaming platform? You have a channel that has, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere between 30 and 60 million active right now, active daily users watching live content on a channel called Just Chatting, which is just lifestyle, which is just culture, fashion, music, all things but gaming. So you're starting to see the alternative pieces get added that aren't just gaming. Gamers also have different fashion styles, listen to different music. All of that is being combined in a place like Twitch, which is a beautiful piece of technology that is a streaming service that gives back to the fans an opportunity to touch and feel the product on the other side of the screen. Now, the other side of the screen could be an influencer, could be a team, could be a competition. And we're just here sitting back in front of our computers, watching the products as they unfold live. You can see the massive opportunities that can happen. And so it's a very sensitive part of the business. So we do see the catalyst for our company as being able to add value to those tech pieces that already are there. We're building out some APIs that hopefully can work with the Twitches of the world, with the YouTube lives and the Facebook gamings of the world, and really just, again, add value to the existing infrastructures. Thanks, James. Adam G, what is your view on influencer agreements with high-profile sports personalities such as Beckham and Guild agreement? Obviously, we were right after our counterparts and competitors in Guild. Guild did sign Beckham, albeit in a much different structure as we would like to do with our influencers or personalities. We are working on the backgrounds with some ambassadors. We don't call them influencers as so much as ambassadors. They should have a job, they should have a role, and they should be able to add value just as much as we're adding value to their careers, which is very traditional, and taking it into a non-traditional alternative view for content creation, for ambassadorship of those ideas, tech pieces, or even just to work with the blokes, the top blokes in our first product. What better way to bridge that gap than to have a traditional sports star or celebrity that wants to get involved with esports and gaming with a product that's existing and performing well? So my view on the agreements with them is to exactly have high-level ambassadorship agreements where it's not just a scratch my back, I'll scratch your back, but it's a job-driven idea. What content can we create? What ideas can we generate? These big superstars come with brands already. Are those brands also interested to join us in the fight for adoption within gaming and esports? And also for these athletes, many of them only have X long amount of careers. Average in the NBA is 3.5 years. Average in the NFL is even less. I don't have the statistic for the EPL, but I can imagine the average is not more than 5 years for an average EPLer. And obviously a superstar will go 10, 20 years. Excuse me. So yeah, and an EPL star will go obviously 10, 20 years. So what does life after sports look like for these players? What is life for them even while they're playing career? There's 6 months off sometimes. If you don't get to the Champions League, you have a lot of downtime. We're filling in those gaps, and they are also filling in our gaps to be able to create that proper content and to do great things on ambassadorship to grow together. They are massive brands, and we look to be just as massive as they are. So to really come together as a partner, not just so much as an influencer joining us for the namesake. So that's our main difference that we look to do, and hopefully we'll be able to talk more about that in the coming weeks with our first ambassadors coming on. Let's go back. The next one I see, I read that one. Jeffrey P. What was the commercial attraction for building a brand in Rocket League as opposed to other esports games? Yeah, great question, because I go back to, it was a great business decision. We did look at other games. We did look at specifically, Valorant. Valorant is the fastest growing game in the world right now. It is not the biggest game, but it is a tier 1 esport, tier 1, 2, and 3. I won't bore you with that right now, but they are levels of how big they are. So let's say if, hockey is a tier 2 esport, then football is a tier 1 esport. And we joined Rocket League, which is a tier 2 esport, for financial reasons, because we do see very high burn rates within teams that have really extended their reach in 7 or 8 different teams. Tier 1 esports are incredibly expensive to manage, and really the burn rates are very high. So to subsidize those costs is very difficult. If you don't have a large franchise slot, like in League of Legends, which is a tier 1 esport, it's very difficult to penetrate that market. So the barrier to entry is almost non-existent with League of Legends right now. You would need the last bid sold were 20 to 40 million just for the bid to join the league. And then you got to build the team, which is give or take, depending on how good or big your team is, $2 to $15 million a year burn rate. That's a year burn rate, which is for the bigger teams, very easy to subsidize because they are making money. For a smaller team that isn't successful and notoriously 10th in the ranking or 12th in the ranking, they come and go. Some of them are being sold almost every year now. Just in the Americas, we had 3 teams transfer ownership in the off season this year. I do see that as a trend because teams are notoriously making a lot of money from their bid. And if they're not performing well, then they might as well offload that product for a massive success. But for a brand new team such as us to get into a tier 1 esport right now, the barrier to entry is a bit too high. And the money involved, I just cannot justify right now as far as the money coming in and the output that we can get from it. So a little bit of justification there as to why we chose tier 2 esports. And really quickly, Rocket League is one of the fastest growing viewership games. It went free to play from a paid model just during the pandemic. So Psyonix used to charge for Rocket League X dollars, and now it's free to play. The most successful games in revenue tend to be free to play, where any kid, any adult can go on right now, download it, sometimes a very high capacity of gigs, but in Rocket League terms, compared to other games, it's a low downloadable, it's very accessible. So it's very opportunistic for the future. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 1 million active new users. So it doubled. We used to be 1 million. Now it's 2 million, give or take, live viewers on the whole Rocket League network on Twitch. So it's just doubled since going free to play. And partners like Ford, because it's a it's a game that combines football with cars. So you have cars playing football, right? They headbutt, they score goals, they kick, just like you would in the regular game, 3-on-3, but it's football. It's a big old football on a digitalized form where cars are making the goals and the passes. So Ford, and just recently for this championship, Lamborghini got involved as a sponsor. So the revenues are coming, the viewership has proven. And so it was a perfect fit for us because as those doors get opened up for LAN, physical tournaments, we're going to have future Lamborghinis and Fords being given to the winners of the competition, just like as you see in the halftime of Super Bowl. Like if you're the MVP, you take home a Buick. These are all advertisable opportunities and marketing opportunities that are just getting started in Rocket League. So it's extremely exciting time, very high growth. And the last thing I'll mention is that Psyonix partnered or sold to Epic Games. The Epic Games took over and bought the company, which is a massive opportunity. Epic Games is one of the largest publishers in the world, and they have deep pockets to make the right decision. So we're excited to see what the pipeline looks like. I missed that one. I think maybe I deleted it or you deleted it, but I see another last one. Can you talk a little bit about the virtual experiences you hope to create for your clients and teams? What might they look like, and what are the differences these can make for revenue generation? So I'll start with the first part. Can you talk a little bit about the virtual experiences you hope to create? Starting in the pandemic, which we did, we saw what had happened with Zoom. We saw what had happened with conferencing applications and all the things that are really exploding, right? It's just absolutely exploding right now within conference applications. So I don't need to tell you about Zoom or even conference applications such as the one we're on today. These are virtual experiences for the corporate world. These are virtual experiences for event organizers and anybody that had an analog product that didn't have a digital presence. We always said, if you're a mom and pop shop that didn't have an e-commerce site, then you might have been left in the winds and blown away with the changing landscape of the COVID times. Same goes with esports. If you didn't have a digital presence or not working on a digital presence, selling your merchandise online, getting in front of fans on Twitch, and getting in front of fans, making that real-time live content for them to interact with you at a better, faster, stronger level. And if you didn't just rely on those physical spaces, then you're going to be highly successful. We're here to innovate even more on those. We want to add in the APIs that add to those existing infrastructures to make them better, as well as build out new ones. Imagine if a company like ours a year and a half ago would have invested, instead of talking about tech and digital, would have invested in an internet cafe or a chain of them, or in a physical arena, like a literal esports arena in the UK. We have one at the Red Bull gaming sphere. It's been very inactive for a year. These are their words. We went and saw them and they said, come back in April. And so, that's Red Bull. But imagine if a smaller startup, such as those internet cafes or those esports arenas, only did that. If their only job was to just do that, then they're massively at a detriment right now. So to hone in on the capabilities of virtual experiences and creating products that give back to our clients and teams is exactly that: digitalizing their life, helping them come online if they aren't already, creating their e-commerce platforms, creating their Twitch opportunities, streaming opportunities, and really give back. Like I mentioned many times before, if you're an analog thinking company or team, it's time to go digital, and we have the solutions to do so. The second part of that question, how might this help and make a difference, that might make the revenue generating potential of teams and players? I think it's quite a nice progression, right? If they don't have a digital presence, they don't have a digital store, they don't have a digital footprint at all, then we're really starting from zero. So anything you add on there is going to help them make more money. At the very ground level of physical, like the hardware sales, the headphones, the keyboards, that's the cliche stuff that we can all help with and sell. But then you're talking about the jersey sales, the sponsorship opportunities for the sponsors on those jerseys. Through a simple click, can go to a financial institutional website, open up a trading account or anything like that, which are going to help the corporates get more involved. But for the teams, help them really just come online. We don't know a successful top 10 team in the world. And if you're a top 10 team, you're probably worth about $100 to $150 million right now. The top ones being upwards of $300 million in theirs. And all of them have a massive digital footprint. In fact, some of them only have a digital footprint. The other ones, like the 100 Thieves, have physical Cash App compounds. It's called the Cash App compound. It's a $50 million facility right here in LA. And we don't have that in the UK, where Cash App is a notoriously digital product. 100 Thieves doesn't do anything outside of that Cash App compound that's not digital. Literally every sale is a drop online through social media or on Twitch. Twitch is a massive opportunity for places like FaZe Clan. FaZe Clan is one of the biggest teams in the world, where all they do is digital content. All their whole focus is on content creation in the digital realm. So I think it's a massive opportunity to create the revenues that are non-existent there for the infrastructures in esports. Just had one come in. Yep, Jay, I just see JM, no first name. What is your strategy for attracting your first sponsorships? Great question. So because we are a brand new team, because we are a young corporation, we are really at a blank slate for any brand that wants to join us and to give back to the community what they want to teach or educate. So I'll just give a quick example. Again, I think it's a fantastic segue for what we want to do is financial services industries. We just had a financial service industry such as Cash App, like I've mentioned a few times, join these big teams. Then we had the untraditional, which are now technically financial companies, in Coinbase, which is a crypto company. They just listed on the stock exchange in America, upwards of $50 billion. They just sponsored their first esports team. And I can imagine what that's going to do for financial literacy, as I mentioned, for their product and for the teams involved. Our sponsorship route and how we want to navigate that roadmap is very similar. We want to create a partnership, not just a sponsorship that comes on the logo right here or on the back, which is the main jersey sponsor, so that everybody knows that, HSBC or, Halifax or 3 communication company can put their name and just for name's sake. But we want to be able to give back to that company what their product wants to sell or give back to the esports younger generation. So as I mentioned, financial literacy, health and wellness is a big topic, and mental health. So mental health doesn't have to be just a dry, boring product. There's multi-billion-dollar companies tackling that same issue. Same goes with health and wellness and for financial literacy, all very lucrative industries such as insurance, real estate. And as we get into the minds of these younger generations, when they turn 18 or my age above, they're going to remember these brands and that where the jersey was or what they did to give back to the community. So really educating those younger populations through our team and assets that will help the product at a higher level, corporate level, exactly that, educate and get using the product when the time comes, or in the Cash App scenario, immediately, right? It's a very digestible product to be able to focus on. I see one last one. Can you explain what the different revenue models are the various verticals you are addressing? Can you explain what the different revenue models are, I'm going to guess, for the various verticals you are addressing? So I don't know if you guys can still see my screen. I will just go back for visual's sake so we can just look at the screen here. These are our different, obviously, pillars that we look to hone in on. And gaming technology is obviously the 2 pillars with the largest verticals. I've spoken about the many APIs that are available to be added in within the industry for technology. On the blockchain kind of protection, security side, you have tokenized gaming assets, you have in-game assets, you have anti-hacking, cheating, stealing products, AML to be able to communicate with the banks at a higher level, KYC, which we can for the first time know who we're playing against, not just someone on the other side of the screen, but if you're going to essentially put up money or enter a tournament, you should know that the tournament is secure, it's safe, and it's going to be paid out in a very professional manner. These are all verticals that are very at their infancy within esports. So creating those will essentially full circle our business model to give back in revenues. And really, it is going to help us dive deeper and create more revenue streams. It is all about multiple revenue streams. Twitch is a great example as I keep going back, because you can donate to your streamer, you can advertise on their channel, you can play with them, which essentially is a form of sponsorship. And then you have sponsored content as well. And then just going into gaming, the brands, talents involved, they're just getting more. We, like I said, in our work over the last 2 years, we're able to secure over $7 million in esports contracts. Now, go back 2 years from that number would have been in total about 1 or 2 million maximum. The buyouts are becoming a real thing. Players, just like in the NBA or EPL, You can buy out a player's contract, which are upwards of $5-10 million now. These aren't small buyouts. And then you pay them the contract. So the verticals for gaming and what the professionals are adding, we haven't had a pure gamer become a brand representative. Brands are sponsoring them, but we haven't had a pure gamer step out and become just a pure brand representative like some of the professional athletes have done. So the verticals are few and far between right now, but very many for the two sections that we're honing in on. And virtual experiences, I talked a little bit about that. Because of COVID, we do feel it is here to stay, as in being at the home, staying at home more, and utilizing the technology pieces that we've been given through the pandemic, and now companies are starting to innovate on. So yeah, multiple revenue streams for each one of those verticals are very attainable. And I don't have any more questions on my end.
No, Kevin, you've been very, very generous with your time, and you've in fact addressed every single question that you've had from investors. So thank you once again for doing so. Look, I'm mindful of time. We've taken your time enough for this evening. So perhaps I could just ask you for a few closing comments. I know investor feedback's important, and we will shortly redirect investors to do so.
Yes, I did answer all the questions. I wanted to be very transparent, and that's something we want to tell to the market, not only for the esports industry, which there is a lack of transparency. We can only say what we legally can say. The common question is, how much did you pay your players? And what are their contracts? And legally, you can only say as much as you can. But that's a big part of the industry that we would like to be a part of changing, is the transparency of our products, what those capabilities are, really not over-promising, but over-delivering on products. And we like to see our first product as exactly that. We didn't pump it. We didn't speak about it. We're still just doing our jobs. And if we do our jobs correctly, what you'll see happen is a lot of outperformance, and adding the pieces like the blokes, getting them the nutritionists, getting them the mental coaches in the very early stages to make the team the best team it could be. And that's essentially making the product the best product it can be. So just a note to the overall markets, financial side and esports side, that we would like to be very transparent, very communicative. We want the companies out there investing in us and the teams involved or the infrastructures on the esports side to know everything that we're doing when we're able to talk about it, and just to add value through our strategic partners that would like to get involved with us. But other than that, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for your time and energies. I know it's been over about an hour now, so thank you so much, and looking forward to do many more of these as our announcements come out.
Kevin, thank you once again. Could I please ask investors not to close this session, as you'll now be automatically redirected for the opportunity to provide your feedback. If you access this meeting from our website, the feedback page will appear. But if you access this meeting via the link sent you by email, then you'll simply be asked to log back in to provide your feedback. But if you could, I'm sure it'd be warmly welcomed by Kevin and the management team at the company. So on behalf of Semper Fortis Esports, I'd like to thank you very much for attending today's presentation. That now concludes today's session. Good evening to you all, and thank you so much for your time.